Hey, what is up everyone? Omogonix here and welcome back to a brand new video here on the channel. So this video is going to be part 16 to my tutorial series where I show you guys how to make a basic horror game in Godot. So first up in this part, what I'm going to be teaching is how to add light switches for your lights. So let's say for example you have lights in your scene and you would like the ability to turn them off and on via a light switch. Well, I will be teaching that today. And by the way, just before I do get started as well, I just do want to say that we are approaching the end of this series. We are getting closer, so hopefully this will be over in a few more parts. I know that it's been a bit of a long series, 16 parts now, we're up to part 16. But yeah, so overall, hopefully you guys have enjoyed this series so far and you have been learning a bunch from it. I do want to do a more advanced tutorial series in the future when I am ready to do that. So if you guys do enjoy this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And without further ado, let's get right into it. So as I just mentioned before, what we're going to be doing is we are going to be adding light switches for our lights in this part. So that's what we're going to start off today with doing. So let's get to it. So what we're going to do is we are going to create a new scene. So go add new scene. It will be a 3D scene. And then we're going to change the type of our node 3D here. We're going to go change type, so right click, go change type, and we're going to search up static body 3D. And the reason as to why we're doing this is so then we can actually interact with the light switch. And so then what we're going to do is we're then going to add a collision shape 3D to it. We'll just give it a box shape, and we'll adjust that in a bit. But I am going to rename this node 3D here to light switch, so just light underscore switch. There we go. And boom. So now we're going to go right click, go add child node, mesh instance 3D. And this will be a box mesh. So this is going to be like the base of our button, of our light switch. So I'm just going to make this a bit smaller. Something like this. Yeah, there we go, that seems alright. And then with our collision shape, we'll just then adjust this down. So we'll try adjust it to a very similar size of this mesh instance itself. And there we go, that seems good. And then I am actually going to duplicate this mesh instance here, so I'm going to press Ctrl D with the mesh instance selected. Just going to duplicate it and then make it smaller. Like this, there we go. And we're going to push this out a bit more. And also make it a bit smaller. Let's make it a bit thinner. And there we go. So this here is going to be the light switch. It's basically just like a button. So yeah, it's just a light button. And I am going to give it its own material, this button here. So I'm just going to go to the material override on the Mesh Instance 3D in the Geometry tab. Then I'm going to go New Standard Material 3D. And I'm just going to make this just a certain color. Make it red. There we go. And I'll turn down the roughness on that material, there we go, and boom. So now this will be my light switch button. You guys can make your light switches how you want to, but for me it's just going to be a simple button, and it's going to be red. You guys don't have to do red if you don't want to, again, that's just what I'm doing for my one. But yeah, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to then save this into my scenes folder, so make sure that you do save your stuff as you do make it, so then in case your PC crashes or Godot crashes, then you don't have them sorts of issues. Then we're going to go save. And there we go. So now what we're going to do is we are actually going to make a script for this light switch, so we are going to go into the light switch itself. And then we're going to go create a new empty script. And then we'll just call the script light switch. And then we're going to save it into the scripts folder. Create, there we go. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we are going to do the following. So we are going to get rid of this starter stuff here after creating the script. Then we're going to go at export var. And then the first thing we're going to do is we're going to write light and node 3D. And the reason as to why we're doing this is because this will be the light that we assign to this light switch. And then we're also going to have two more variables as well, two more public variables. So if you don't know what add export means and you need a bit of a reminder there, that just basically means like public. So imagine you're doing like a public variable for Unity C# scripting. And then so this here will be like the light off material. So this will be the material that is assigned when the light is turned off. And then we're also going to have a light on material as well. So we'll just like duplicate this line of code here down the bottom, and then just replace light off with light on, and boom, there we go. And we're also going to have a thing called toggle as well. We're going to have a bool called toggle, which will determine if the light switch is on or off. Alright, so those there are going to be our variables we will be using. So here's what we'll do now. So we're actually going to create a new function, and this will be called func toggle switch. So this will be the function for toggling our light switch. So what we're going to do first off is we're going to do toggle equals not toggle. So what this means is that toggle will equal to the opposite of what toggle currently equals to. So if toggle equals to true, then it will equal to false. And if toggle equals to false, then it will equal to true. So pretty much this toggle is equaling to the opposite of what it equals to here. And so if toggle equals to false, now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to find the light scene. So the scene for the lights, where is it? There we go, light. So here we have the scene for my light in my basic horror game. So the reason as to why I'm going to this is just so that I can, you know, look at the tree we have here with the nodes and just see, you know, what the nodes are called, so that I can correctly access them in my light switch script. So I'm just checking what the names and stuff are. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go back to my light switch script. And in the toggle equals to false section, what we're going to do is we are going to go light.get underscore node mesh instance 3D. And then we're going to go dot material underscore override. So we're going to be assigning a material to this mesh instance 3D, and it will be light off. So yeah, if toggle equals to false, then the mesh instance 3D of the light, the material override of that mesh instance 3D will be assigned with the light off material. And then we'll just copy this line of code here, paste it down here. So then if toggle equals to true, or we could even write else if toggle equals to true, but you know, just doing if toggle equals to true is fine as well. Then the light will be on. So yeah. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is underneath these bits of lines of code here to do with the light material, what we're going to do is we're going to write light.getNode.get underscore node, and then in quotation marks we are going to write OmniLight 3D, or just whatever the name of your actual light in your light scene is. So for me it's just called OmniLight 3D. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go dot visible equals to toggle. So basically what's going on here is the visibility of the OmniLight 3D is being determined by what toggle equals to. So if toggle equals to false, then the OmniLight 3D will be off. And if toggle equals to true, then the light will be on. So yeah, that is pretty much it really when it comes to toggling the light switch. That's pretty much all the code there that I can think of for now. There is one more thing, of course, but I will get to that just in a minute. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to my light switch scene. And as you can see here, we have our light switch button. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add an animation player as a child to this. And we're going to create a new animation. And I'm going to call this press underscore button. So whenever we toggle our light switch, what will happen is an animation will play to press the button here. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll make this animation about 0.5 seconds long. Doesn't need to be long at all. In fact, actually, I'll make it 0.6. So what I'm going to do is at the very start of the scene, I'm going to go to my actual button mesh here. And then I'm going to go down to transform, And then I'm basically going to add a keyframe into the animation player for the position. So just going to go select keyframe, create reset track, go create, and boom. So now I'm going to go to 0.3 in the animation, since that is halfway through the animation. And then I'm just going to move my button into the button's base a bit more. And then we're going to then set another keyframe for the position. And then we're going to go to the end of the animation, select this keyframe here, go right click, and then go duplicate key. And then boom, now we have a button press animation. And how you can make this animation smoother is you can actually change the interpolation mode of the animation. So just go to one of the animation's key points. So for example, here we have the position of the button. And as you can see this thing which looks almost like a army symbol in a way, almost like a ranking. If you're in the army, you just want to select this, and then just change it from linear to cubic, and this will make your animation smoother. So as you can see now, when the button presses in, it looks a bit more smoother, like there's a bit of a transition between the off and on state of the animations. So yeah, and then what we're going to go do is we're going to go into our script, and then we're going to go $animation player, because the animation player is a child object of the light switch, and we've got our script attached to the parent light switch object. That means that we can just access the animation player by going $animation player and then .play, and then press button. We just enter in the name of our animation in order to make it play. Alright, so the last thing we're going to be doing is basically I'm going to enter in a variable, and I'm going to call this interactable. And basically what this will determine is when and when not the player can press the button. So interactable will equal to true at first, so what we're going to do is we're going to go if interactable, and then we're going to then indent this line of code here. And then at the very top here, we're going to make interactable equal to false. And then at the very bottom of this function, we're then going to write await get underscore tree dot create underscore timer. And then we're going to then write 0.5. And this will basically mean that the player can interact with the light switch again 0.5 seconds after pressing it. So I'm going to do false. So then this timer only happens when the game is not paused. And then we're going to do .timeout. And then afterwards, interactable will then equal to true again, so then the player can interact with the light switch again. The reason as to why we're doing this is because, you know, the button has a 0.6 second long animation. In fact, we'll actually make this create timer section to 0.6 instead of 0.5. And so basically, to stop the player from being able to interact with the light switch as the light switch button animation is actually playing, is what we do to stop that from happening, to stop the player from interacting with the light switch whilst the animation is playing, is we add the interactable bool, then all equal to false, and then 0.0 seconds later, once the animation has stopped playing, then the player can actually press the button again. So yeah. Alright, so we're pretty much already done with setting up this light switch, but there is one more thing which I would like to do that I just remembered, and that is adding a sound for pressing the button. So what we're going to do is on the light switch, we're going to go add child node, audio stream player 3D, there we go. And then with the max distance of this, I'll probably set it to something like 15. Yeah, that seems like a good distance, 15 or 10, anything like that's alright. And then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to set the stream of this audio stream player. I don't actually have a button press sound in my game right now, but I will just use a random sound such as the object pickup sound, so I'll just use that. And I'm actually going to rename this audio stream player 3D to press. And there we go. So we're going to go back into the script, and what we're going to do is when the button is pressed in this toggle switch function here, what we'll do is we'll do $ to access the press sound directly, then we'll go press, and then .play, and then this will play our sound, and boom. So now we have our light switch sound in the scene. Alrighty, so now our light switch is pretty much fully set up, as far as I can tell. If there's anything that I've forgotten, then I will, you know, fix it up. But what I'm going to do is I'm then going to go to my level scene, and I'm going to now assign this light switch into the scene. So we're going to drag it in, and boom. So now we have our light switch. So in order to test this out, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this into the beginning area, since I want to first off test out the light switch on the beginning area light where the player spawns, so then we can test out if it fully works or not, so then we can actually assign it to the other lights in the scene. And boom. So the button is a bit big right now. You can make it smaller if you want to. It's just what I'm going to do quickly, just going to make it a bit smaller. And there we go, that should be a good size for our light switch now. So as you can see, we do have a few empty variables to assign with our light switch. So the first thing you'll want to assign is the actual light. So as you can see here, we have the light that I'm going to be assigning. It is just simply called light in the scene. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my light switch, and then select where it says assign here. And then I'm going to assign the light that I want to this light switch. And boom. So now we have our light off and light on materials. So with these, you of course want to assign your materials which determine the on and off, you know, state of your light. So with me, for example, in my materials folder, as you can see, I have a material literally called light here. I'm going to go to my light on section, go quick load, and then I'm going to assign this material. And boom. So now with the light off material, I don't currently have anything in my materials folder, but what we can do is we can actually go to where it says empty, and we can actually create a new standard material 3D to use for the light off material. And boom, so that's pretty much it for me when it comes to the light off material, since, you know, my light on material is just white. So the light off material is just going to be a lit version of that light on material, because the light on material, it is unlit, which means that it is unaffected by lighting, and so it just gives it this look where it's, you know, very bright. And then with the light off material, since it is just you know, since it just has regular shading and isn't unshaded, it will look like how a light will look when off. So yeah. So we've got our light off and light on material, and then we've got our light assigned to the light switch. So that should pretty much mean that our light switch is now ready to test out. So one thing that I did forget to do, because I was literally just about to test it just then, but then I just remembered, like, oh wait a second, I actually haven't done the code for if the player actually interacts with the light switch yet. Because yes, we've done the light switch code, and we've added the light switch into the scene now and assigned all its variables, but we still have yet to actually do the code for the interactions, so let's do that quickly. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the script view, and then we're going to find our raycast interact script. So here it is, raycast. And with our light switch, you know how we have the function called toggle switch? Well, I'm actually going to change it to interact. Now, the reason we're going to be renaming the light switch function in the light switch script to interact is because if you actually look at our raycast script here, we already have code for if the hit variable. So what the hit variable is that's basically the collider that the raycast is hitting. So if the collider that the raycast is hitting has the method interact, and the player presses the interact button, what will happen is the interact function on that script will happen. So what that will basically do, by changing the function from toggle switch to interact in the light switch script, what that will do is that will basically allow us to not even have to add any more code into our raycast script for the actual light switch, so we can just use what we've already got here. So yeah, so now we can actually go test this out and see if it works. Let's go play, and here we go. Alrighty, so let's go interact. And nothing happened. Oh wait, it just did. There we go. Yay, it worked. Alrighty, so I think the reason as to why it didn't work on that first press is because toggle equal to false, and since the light was already on, that would mean that then toggle would equal to true, which means that the light will stay on. So yeah, so do make sure that if you have lights in your scene already, make sure that toggle equals to true for them, and you can do that by just making it a public variable, so then you can assign it to individual lights. I will do that in a bit actually. So yeah, but if we press the light switch, as you can see, it goes off and on. And yeah, it works perfectly well. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my light switch script again, and I'm just going to add an export out the front of toggle. And the reason as to why is because, as you just saw before, when we first pressed that light switch, it didn't turn off the light, and the reason as to why is because toggle equal to false at first instead of true, because the light was already on, so toggle should have equal to true when starting. So what you want to do is just make the variable of your, just make the toggle variable in your light switch public by going @export out the front of the variable line, and then you just want to basically just make toggle equal to true for any light switch that needs to be equal to true at the start. So now let's go test that again. I know it already worked the first time, but I just want to show you guys pressing the light switch for the first time now, how it actually changes the light now. And boom, so as you can see, now the light switch actually changed right away on the first press there. Alright guys, so what I'm doing now is I'm just duplicating my light switch around, and I'm going to assign it to the other lights in my scene, because there are a few other lights in my scene, and if you've got a few other lights in your scene as well, do make sure to duplicate around your light switch, and you know, just assign it to the other lights if you want to. So what I'm going to do is after duplicating around these light switches and assigning them to the lights, what I'm going to do afterwards is I'm going to basically make it so then, so basically what the gameplay of this game is going to be is the player needs to find like a number of objects, whether it be 8 objects like in Slender Man or something like that, right? And basically after finding a number of a certain kind of object, whatever you want it to be for your game, then an exit will open and the player can go through the exit in order to finish the game. So yeah. So as the player looks for the objects, of course, they will need to hide from the monster, since the monster will be looking for them. And yeah. So here we have my second light switch. Now this will be assigned to this light right here. So I'm just going to check what this light is called. It is called light 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now reassign the light to light 2. And there we go. And then we've got light 3, wherever that is. I think that's down here. Yeah, it's down here. And then we'll just assign the light switch. We'll just duplicate the light switch. If you don't know how to duplicate things, by the way, or you forgot, you just select an object and press Ctrl+D. And then after pressing Ctrl+D, yeah, we'll duplicate the object. So now this is light switch 3. And then we'll just drag that to the wall here. And then we'll reassign the light to light 3. And boom. There we go. So now, as I just said before, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making it so then the player needs to pick up a certain number of objects, so then they can finish the game, so then an exit will open up and they can go through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new scene, and it will be a 3D scene, of course. Now what I'm going to do for these objects is, instead of the player having to look at it and interact with it, it'll basically, actually wait, no, I might actually just do that actually, where the player has to actually look at the object in order to pick it up, instead of just a trigger, because what I was thinking of doing was just a trigger, but no, we'll do it actually, the player actually needs to like physically interact with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the type of this node 3D to a static body 3D, and there we go. And I'm just going to call this object. You guys can call it what you want to, of course. I'm just going to call it object. And I'm going to give it a collision shape. We'll just give it a box shape to begin with. And make sure you do save your scenes as you go along, of course, in your scenes folder. Alrighty, so now I'm going to then select my parent object again, go add child node, and just add a mesh. So with this object, right, I want to do something kind of, something weird. Let's do something a bit weird for this object of ours. So what it's going to be is it's going to be like just a random shape, just a random custom-like shape. So here we've got a cube, right? Sort of position it like that on its side. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this cube. And you guys don't need to do the same thing, by the way. Your object can be whatever you want it to be. This is just what I'm doing for my object. But then I'm going to basically do this. And now we've got some weird, some weird object going on. So yeah, my object is just going to be something more abstract. And I am going to give it its own materials as well. So I'm going to assign some materials. And I'm going to make them unshaded. Give them like a unique look. I'm just doing random stuff at this point. Make it pink as well. And then I'll actually duplicate this material, go copy value, and then paste it into here. And boom, so now this is going to be my actual object. So yeah, this is going to be the random thing that the player needs to pick up a number of. Again, your thing can be whatever you want it to be, whether it be notes like in Slenderman, or toys, or something like that. Your object can be whatever you want it to be. This is just what I'm doing for this tutorial. So now that we have our object made up, what we are going to do is we are now going to do a script for it, of course. So what we're going to do is we're going to go where it says empty, go new script. And by the way, I forgot to mention, make sure you do have your parent object selected. Then go new script. And so with the script you can call it what you want. I'm just going to call it object and then go create. And now we're going to add a new function, so just get rid of the starter stuff here. And we're going to write func pick up, actually wait no, func interact, so then we don't have to do any new code for the raycast script, we'll just go func interact. And then once the player actually interacts with the object, what will happen is we'll go get underscore parent. And you might be thinking to yourself, why are we trying to get the parent when there is no parent object of the parent object here? Well, let me explain why. So basically, we are actually going to create a parent object. When we eventually put all these objects into our main level, right, what we're going to do is we're going to create a new parent object for all of them, and we're going to create a script for that, which will handle the number of objects that have been picked up. So yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to go get parent, and we're just going to write .num of objects. So basically, when we create our script for our parent object, we're going to make a variable called num of objects, which is short for number of objects. And then we're going to write plus equals 1, so then it goes up by 1. And then what we're going to do is we're going to write if, and then we're going to go copy this again, if get parent.num of objects is more than equal to, and then you just want to enter your number that you want the number of objects to be in your scene. So if you want it to be 8 or something like that, in fact for this tutorial I'm just going to do 8 like in Slenderman. Then we're just going to go indent. So if get parent.num of objects is more than equal to 8, then we will enter our code here for the exit appearing, but we won't do that yet. So I am just going to write pass here for now. So what pass means is it basically just means to ignore what's going on here. So yeah, it's just sort of like just a filler if you don't have anything currently going on at the moment in a certain function. So yeah. But also what will happen is after that, we will need to write q_free so then the object is actually picked up and the player can no longer interact with it. So yeah. And we're now going to place this object around. So I'm just going to go find it. Here it is, object. There we go. And I'm just going to place like 8 of these around in the scene, basically. Something I will be doing is I will be restructuring this level a bit in a future part in this tutorial. just so that it feels more like a proper game level. Because I mean, it's fine right now, but yeah. We're almost done. Still got a few more to place around. We're at number 6 now. But yeah, something which I mentioned earlier on in this tutorial as well, is that at some point I do want to actually make a more advanced horror game tutorial series. So if you guys are interested in that, then be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more, because that will probably be a game that I end up publishing on my itch.io as well, because, you know, it's going to be more advanced and it'll probably be more so akin to the quality of the sort of games that I put out on itch.io, since I do want to, like, instead of just, you know, doing stuff as examples, like with what I'm doing here right now with, you know, this object here, it's just like a random object. You know, I want to do something more, you know, proper, you know, like as if it's an actual game of mine that I'm putting onto itch.io. So if you guys are interested in that, like a more advanced tutorial series, then be sure to let me know. And boom, so now we have our 8 objects in the scene. So as I mentioned earlier on, after we place our objects, what we're going to do now is we're actually going to create a parent object for them. So go select all your 8 objects, or however many you have in your scene, just select them all. And then just go right click, reparent to a new node, node 3D. And then just call this something like objects. You can call it what you want to, of course, but I'm just going to call it, actually we'll just call it important objects. There we go. So then we know that they're very important. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is on your parent object that we just created, go to where it says script, empty, and then we can call this object counter, this script, and I'm going to save it into my scripts folder, of course. And there we go, go create. So now what we're going to do is we're now going to get rid of the stuff here, and we're going to call this variable num of objects. So yeah, so that's all we need to do for this script right now, just pretty much just give it a variable for the number of objects. And I am just going to check, yep, that is what I've got the variable called here as well, num of objects. And yeah, so something which I want to do as well is I want to actually have a counter, like a UI counter, showing basically how much basically objects have been picked up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my UI scene here, and I'm actually going to create some new text. In fact, we can just like duplicate the interact text we have here, but if you don't know how to have text and you don't currently have text in your scene, you can just go add child node to your UI scene and go rich text label, and you can get some text like that. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like duplicate the interact text here, and I'm just going to call this object counter. And so with the object counter, I'm just going to move this maybe over to here. And I'm basically just going to write 0 out of 8. So you can enter what you want to, of course, like 0 out of 5, 0 out of 10, 0 out of 15, whatever you want to. But for me, it's just going to be 0 out of 8. So we're going to go to our script view, and then into our object script here. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to create a new variable, and this variable will be called object counter. So now that we've got that, what we're going to do is we're going to go func underscore ready, and then 2 dots to indent, and then object underscore counter. What this will equal to is this will equal to get underscore tree dot current scene dot get underscore node UI. So if you don't know what get underscore tree dot current scene does, basically this will just get the current scene that your game is loaded into, and then dot get node will get a child node of that scene. So for example, here in my level scene, as you can see, the UI is a child node of the main level. So yeah. And then after UI, what we're going to do is we're going to write slash, and then object underscore counter. And boom. So now we are assigning the object counter variable in this script to the actual object counter text in the UI. So after an object has been interacted with and picked up, what will happen is we'll go object underscore counter, dot text equals to, and then we'll go str, and what str means is that will mean string. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be converting the number of objects into a string, because at the moment it's an integer, and you can't actually have integers in strings after all, in text. So what we need to do is we need to actually convert it into a string. So we're going to go string get parent dot num of objects, since we're getting the parent script of our object. And then what we're going to do is we're then going to go plus, and then quotations, and then we're going to do slash again, and then just and then enter the number of objects that are in your game. So for me it's 8, so I'm just going to enter 8. And boom. So what's happening here is after our object gets picked up, the num of objects goes up by 1, and then the object counter text, that will basically we don't actually need to have that parenthesis there. Sorry guys, I just had to change up something there. So I just made a little mistake there with the parenthesis that I had after the 8. What you want to do is you want to actually add that in to after the num of objects bit here. So make sure you have a parenthesis here, and then after last quote here you don't actually need to have a parenthesis. So yeah. So anyways, what this function is doing is we're getting the num of objects from the parent script, and then we're plussing it by 1. So if it equals to 1, then now it will equal to 2, for example. And then we're getting the object counter text, then we're converting the num of objects into a string, and then we're basically going plus to then add on another quote after that, and it will be the out of 8 bit, or whatever number of objects you've got in your scene, of course. And yeah. So now if getParent.num of objects is over or equal to 8, what will happen is the exit will open. So we will do that. So yeah, as I mentioned before, now we need to make an exit for our player so then they can actually leave the level. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is after the player picks up a number of objects, there's going to be a hallway. So I am going to add on a new hallway to this level, just be a small little hallway, and it will be a door that will open up to it, and the player can go down it in order to exit like into a portal type thing, which will then end the game. So yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to like get this section of the wall here, then I'm going to decrease its size. There we go. And I'm then going to move it more so off to the side here, just like that. There we go. Now I've got like a small little opening here. And then we'll duplicate this and then move it across here. And boom, so this will be the doorway that the player will enter in order to get into the exit hallway. So then with the floor here, you could either just stretch it out or even duplicate it, which is what I'm going to do. Just going to duplicate it. Make the floor smaller. And then we've got like this hallway that the player needs to run down. But yeah, I think it'll be a great idea to do a more advanced tutorial series in the future, because I do really want to show you guys like how exactly I make one of my games, you know, and not just like in a simplified form like with this tutorial series here, where it's a bit more simplified and more universal. So yeah. If you want to add a new material for your floor as well, because you know, if you've just done what I did and duplicated your floor so then you could have your hallway floor, your material might be more stretched in, like if you were, or compressed if you want to call it, that might be another word, when you make it smaller, right? So if you want to add a new material to your floor to make it better, you can do that if you want to, but for this tutorial I'm probably just going to leave it as it is. So yeah, I think this will be the only light in this section here, and boom. In fact, we'll probably just do it at the very end, just so then the player can see, like the portal at the very end there. I mean, they'll already be able to see it anyway because it'll be unlit, but yeah. So anyways, this is going to be the ending hallway. And then what we're going to do is we're then going to have like a type of door, like just a, what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this wall here, and I'm just going to call it door. So this isn't going to be a proper door by any means, but what this is going to be is this is going to be like a, you know how like I've done like my auto door tutorial before? Well, it's sort of going to be like in the same style of that. So it's just going to be like this, and then it will slide along in order to open. So yeah. Now I'm going to give this a new material. I'll just add in the flashlight material, you know, just something random. So now that I've got this done, what we're going to do is we're going to add a child node to this door here. It'll be an animation player. And we're going to make a new animation, call it open. And so I'm going to select my door parent object, and in the transform here in the position, I'm just going to go create a new keyframe. Then I'm going to go to the 1 second mark here, and then I'm going to slide it along like this. Boom. And we're going to keyframe that position again, and boom. And then again, if you want the animation to be smoother, just change the interpolation mode from linear to cubic. And then you've got a smooth door opening animation. You can make yours a bit longer if you want it to. I'm just going to have mine at 1 second, but yeah. So now, what I'm going to do with this is I'm actually going to move this out of the walls node, since I've got this in the walls node here. Move it up to here. There we go. So now it's actually out of the navigation region 3D and won't be counted as part of the navigation region. But I am actually going to rebake the nav mesh, just because we've got, you know, a whole new section to the level here. So yeah, be sure to rebake your nav mesh if you add new sections to your level. Don't forget to do that. And so now what we're going to do is we're actually going to go into the script of our object. So we're going to go into our object script. And then here we have get underscore parent dot number of objects. If it's over or equal to the number of objects you want to be able to pick up in your scene, what we'll do is we'll replace pass with this. We'll go get underscore tree dot current underscore scene dot get underscore node, and then door, since that is the name of our sliding door in the scene. And then we're going to do slash. And then we want to get the animation player, which is a child of the door. So we're going to go animation player. And then we want to play the animation open. So afterwards what we're going to do is we're going to go dot play, and then in quotes, open. And then that will open the door or the hallway for the exit hallway. So yeah, that's how that will work. And then we need to actually make the actual portal for the exit. Something which I noticed too is this wall here has, I seem to have forgotten to add normal maps to it. That's totally fine, we can do that later on. But yeah, so what we're going to do now is we're going to create a new scene, 3D scene, and we're going to go change the type of it. This will just be an area 3D, since it's going to be a trigger, so change the type to an area 3D. And then I'm going to call this exit portal. Now we're going to add a mesh to this, a mesh instance 3D. Just be a cube, and then I'm going to stretch it up a bit on its y-axis, and then on its x a bit, so maybe something like that. And then I'm going to give it a new material as well, but first off, be sure to save your scenes as you work on them. Control S to save. And then I'm going to assign a new material override. I'm going to turn the shading to unshaded, and boom, now we have like a white portal material. Alrighty, so now what we're going to do is we're now going to then go add a collision shape 3D, and we're going to make it a box shape, and then I'm just going to extend this out, just so that it's in the shape of our portal here. Might extend it a bit out in this way, just so then there's a bit of room there for when the player runs into the portal. So the collision shape will determine the trigger's size, so then when the player runs into the collision shape, then that will trigger the player ending the game. So yeah. So what we're going to do with the exit portal is we're going to create a new script, and I'm just going to call it exit portal, the script name, and I'm going to save it into my scripts folder. Go create. So now we are now going to create a new function. So I'm going to go func enter trigger body, and the reason as to why we're doing body is because this will be the body of the player. So we're going to go indent if body.name equals to player, and if the body that enters the trigger's name is indeed player, what will happen is we'll go get underscore tree dot change scene to file, and then basically what you want to do here is I'm going to create a public variable. I'm going to go at export var scene name, and then what you want to do is you then want to and then you want to do dot string as well to let people know that it's a string variable. And then in quotes here, we're then going to write the path to the scene. So I'm going to go into my scenes folder, slash, and then what we're going to do is we're then going to go plus, and then scene underscore name, and then we're going to go plus again, and then .tscn, and .tscn is like the file path for scenes. So yeah, so when the player enters the trigger, what will then happen is it will check if the body that entered the trigger is indeed the player, and if it is the player, then what will happen is the scene will change. So now what I'm going to do is with the exit portal, so with the scene name, I'm just going to enter in something like victory for now, and we are actually going to make a victory scene. So with this new scene, it will be a UI scene, and it's going to be called victory. So that's what I'm going to call the parent node here. Going to save it as victory.tscn, save. So what I'm going to do first off is I'm going to add a color rect. Will just be, this is just going to be like a background color, and it's going to be just a basic black. There we go. I'm going to rename this to BG as well for background. And then what I'm going to do is I'm then going to go rich text label. And we're going to just write you survived. You guys can enter whatever text you want to here. Like if you want to be like a bit of story, like, oh, after the player escaped, blah blah blah, this happened, you know, you can do that if you want to. But yeah, I'm just going to be writing you survived as an example. And then here we have the font size. So if you want to change the font size of your text, you just go theme overrides. You just select your text, go to theme overrides, and then font sizes, and then you just change the normal font size to whatever you want it to be. And boom. So yeah, that's just going to be it. It's just going to be text saying you survived. And yeah. And then there'll be a button basically, so we'll just add a button, and this button will basically allow the player to then move on. So you survived, and then we'll go just call this main menu, since this button will just be for taking the player back to the main menu. Font size will be 30, there we go, and boom. So yeah, here is our main menu button. So now with this victory scene, we are going to make a script for it, of course, so then we can actually press the button in order to go back to the main menu. So what we're going to do is we're going to go, we're going to select you want to select the parent object of your victory scene, then go new script. And we're going to just call this victory, and then we'll save it to our scripts folder. Go create. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to go func to menu, parentheses, and then we're going to indent. And then so after the player presses the button, what will happen is we'll go get underscore tree dot change underscore scene to file. And then in quotes, we're going to go res for resources, and then dot dot slash slash, and then we're going to go scenes. And then you want to find your main menu scene, and then boom. So after we press the button, then that will happen. Oh, and something else which we need to do as well is with the exit portal, there is something else that we need to do with the exit portal which I forgot to do, which we will do in a bit. But for now, we're just going to just continue on with this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select our button, and then you want to go to the node tab instead of the inspector tab. And then in the signals section, where it says pressed or base button, you just want to double click that. And then select the node which your script is attached to, and then you want to enter in the function that you want to happen when the player presses the button. So for us it's going to be to menu, since we want to take our player to the main menu. Then we're going to go connect, and then boom, now the button is actually connected up to this function in the script. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go to our exit portal scene, since there is something that I forgot to do with this. So with this, what you want to do is you want to do the same thing which we did before with the victory scene button. You want to go to the node tab when selecting it. Then where it says body entered, you want to double click that. Make sure you select the node which the script is attached to, and go enter underscore trigger, and then connect, and boom. There we go. So now this function is connected up to the Area 3D's signal, which checks if a body has actually entered it, and yeah. Alright, so what we're going to do now is, now that we have our exit portal ready, what we're going to do is we're going to go to level, and we're actually going to drag in our exit portal into the scene. So let's go find our exit portal scene, add it in, and boom. So here is now our exit portal. Go rotate it by 90 degrees. And now what we're going to do is we're then going to just put this inside of here, just into the wall, and boom. So now we have our portal exits, and when the player runs into it, they'll then be transported to the victory scene. So what I am going to do is I am going to, you know, test this all out. But one last thing that I want to do, which I feel like I forgot to do, is actually add an object, add a sound to our object that we need to pick up. So then when we pick it up, it ends up making a sound. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, do I have like a, yeah, here it is. So here I have my sounds node, so I've got a bunch of my sounds here. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to duplicate one of these sounds that I have here. If you don't know how to get an audio stream player, you just go add child node, audio stream player, and boom, then you get an audio stream player. I'm just going to rename this one to pickup OBJ, because I know I've already got one called OBJ pickup, but that's just for normal objects. This one's going to be for more specifically the important objects in the scene, like these things here. So with this sound, I'm just going to add a random sound that I've already got in the project. We'll add this like jump scare sound or whatever it is. What sound is this again? I can't actually preview it, but wait. Oh yeah, it's that sound. Alrighty. So we're going to use that sound for picking up the important objects. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our object scene. Into our object script, I meant to say. And so after the object has been picked up, what we're going to do is we're actually going to go get underscore tree dot current underscore scene dot get underscore node, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get our sounds node where our sounds are, and we're going to go pick up underscore obj, and then we're going to do dot play to play the sound, and boom. And if you're wondering why we're not making the sound a child object of the object we do pick up, that's because the object then gets queue-freed afterwards, meaning that it is no longer in the scene, so then that sound would disappear as well, so it wouldn't even play. So yeah, so that's why we need to just add it in the regular level scene itself, so then it doesn't get deleted along with the object. And so yeah, so without further ado, if I haven't forgotten anything else, let's now actually test out this game so far and see how we go. So let's test out picking up this object. Oh, we got an error. Alright guys, so I just accidentally forgot something here. Let's actually stop that and retest. There was just a little error. I basically put a slash at the front of here when I didn't mean to. Anyways, now that I've fixed that up, let's actually test again. Go play. But yeah, let's try to find these objects now. I just forgot to pick up the one in the beginning room. Alrighty, so as you just saw when I picked up the object, what happens now is it now says 1 out of 8, which means 1 out of 8 objects has been picked up so far. So now we've found 3 objects. Now that's 4 objects. Just have 4 more to go. Hopefully we don't encounter the monster along the way. Just testing out the light switch here. Alright, we just have 1 more to pick up. Right now we have 8 out of 8, which should probably mean now that that door should be open. I have no idea where the monster is. He's like, it's almost like he's just disappeared. So yeah, now this is open, as you can see. Oh, there he is. I was wondering where he was. I thought he had disappeared for a moment there. Oh. Now he's walking along. But yeah, with the monster as well, I do want to sort of increase its invisibility, its visibility of being able to find the player, because right now it's just a raycast, which is a very, like, specific direct thing. You know, I want to do a thing as well where if you have, like, your light shining on the monster, then it can chase you as well, so I might do that in this tutorial series, or I might even do that in my advanced tutorial series as well, if you guys are interested in that, but yeah. So here we have our monster just walking around. Alright, let's go through the white portal again. And boom, we survived. So we can't actually press the main menu button because I forgot to make it so then the cursor then enables once you get into this scene. But yeah, overall, it all works out well. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my victory script, and I'm going to go func_ready, parentheses, and then we're going to indent. And what we're going to do here is we're actually going to set the mouse mode. So we're going to go input.set_mouse mode. So with the mouse mode, what we're going to do is we're going to set it to mouse mode.visible. To input.mouse_mode_visible. So then our mouse will be visible when we do enter the victory scene, and then we can actually press the button and stuff. So I am actually just going to load up the victory scene just to show that yes, you can press the button, and it takes you to the main menu. So yeah. So overall guys, that is the end of part 16. Hopefully you all did enjoy this series so far. There is still a few more parts to go. We are heading towards the end though, but as I did mention throughout a few parts of this tutorial, I want to make a more advanced tutorial series, basically teaching you guys like exactly how I make a game that I then put on itch.io. So if you guys do enjoy this series so far, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And I'll be sure to see you all next time. Bye bye.